Tanzania, cradle of humanity. Baobab trees, big cats, Maasai warriors, vast stretches of plains, and rising up from it all, Mount Kilimanjaro, Africa's highest mountain. Highest freestanding mountain in the world and one of the 7 summits. This is my journey. I first set my sights on Kili several years ago, initially planning to climb in 2020, but the COVID-19 pandemic had other plans. Once the world began to open back up, I scheduled a climb for January of 2022. I trained for the mountain for several months, making up my own regimen as I went along, strengthening my legs, going on tons of training hikes, changing my diet. I even learned and practiced the Wim Hof method breathing exercises in order to help my body adjust to the cold at high altitude. Come January and I was ready. After traveling for around 40 hours across 12 time zones, I finally made it to beautiful Tanzania. Wow. Located in Africa's Great Rift Valley, Tanzania is one of the most biodiverse regions on the continent. It is also culturally diverse with over 100 languages spoken, although Swahili and English are the most common. Villages of the nomadic Maasai tribe can be found throughout the plains, and often near tourist sites, making them one of the most photographed tribes in the world. After gear check, we had a free day to explore Arusha, where I experienced quite the culture shock. Even though we stuck out like sore thumbs, I never felt more welcomed. Cape Town to Cairo, yeah.
You see the white ball?
Yep.
You see the white ball there?
Yeah.
That's the center.
That's the center, okay.
Halfway between Cairo and Cape Town.
What's the... I think he just cussed me out, I'm not sure. Yeah. Alright guys, today marks day 1 of Kili. It's about 7 in the morning right now. We depart the hotel here at 9. Then it's about a 3-hour drive to the start of the trek. And we make our way up to Camp 1. Even though the mountain was covered by clouds during the drive to the gate, there were still some spectacular views on the way, including villages, bird migrations, and even a few giraffes. When we got to the gate, we had our first lunch from our head chef, who everyone calls Mama Lewis. We also met our first wildlife, some colobus monkeys. And then we were finally off.
Oh shit, should have brought my mask.
The Lemosho Western Breach route up Kili is one of the longer routes. 7 days through rainforest, heather and moorland zones, alpine desert, all culminating in a summit push up the infamous Western Breach to the glaciated Arctic summit. After a quick meal, we officially set off on our 9-day journey, trekking through dense rainforest slowly. Very, very slowly. The first day and a half was all rainforest. This ecological zone is dense and full of life compared to the rest of the mountain. Mossy trees, colobus and blue monkeys, several species of birds and endemic flowers like the toxic but vivid fireball lily, and the impatiens kilimanjaro, a strange vivid species that can only be found on the jungle floors of Kilimanjaro.
Hakuna Matata. Hautafika uhuru. Hakuna Matata. Tembea pole pole. Hakuna Matata. Tunawapenda mno. Hakuna Matata.
Here we got Camp 1 in the mess hall for some hot tea after day 1.
First camp was just over 9,000 feet, and aside from some eerie jungle noises at night, it felt like your usual camp in the woods.
Yeah, we'll see on the way down. We'll see a lot of things.
Oh, cool.
On day 2, we crossed a line where the forest quite literally stops as we entered the heather zone. Rather than trees, this zone is marked by smaller shrubs and heather plants. Wildlife became scarce and vegetation became much more strange looking. We had literally entered a whole new world in a day. It was also on this day that we finally got a glimpse of Kibo, the main cone of the mountain.
Woo!
Good job.
Kazinzo di sana.
Yeah.
A pretty long trek through the heather zone. We have made it to Shira Camp 1. And as you can see, the weather is gorgeous. JK, you can't see shit. The thing about Kilimanjaro is that the weather here is absolutely unpredictable. So right now we are a bit over 11,000 feet. So far, no altitude sickness. Honestly, it's not much higher than I've been in the past. But in a few days from now, the elevation will definitely pick up and get a lot steeper. And for anyone who is thinking about climbing this mountain, I definitely recommend getting your own private toilet, because the alternative is one of these little shacks you see around. And let me just go ahead and show you what the inside of one of these looks like. Essentially is a hole in the ground. No toilet paper unless you've supplied your own. I suppose there's a nice rustic quality to it though.
Kilimanjaro is actually comprised of 3 volcanic cones: Shira, which was the oldest, now extinct and collapsed into the modern-day Shira Plateau; Mwenzi, on the southeast side, also extinct; and Kibo, the newest and largest of the 3 cones, which is only dormant, so eruption is still a possibility. Day 3 was a little more wet and rainy than the first 2 days, and we trekked for 11 kilometers through the moorland and alpine desert zone. It's here the temperatures really begin to drop. While during the day it can be warm and sunny, at night it can drop well below freezing. After reaching Moyer Camp, I opted to do an extra acclimatization hike, which gave me time to bond with the guide Naftal and one of the porters, Dwightu, who they call the Machine.
Yeah, buddy.
Woo! Come on!
Yay! Made it to Camp 3 today. I probably look like a sweaty mess. Today we crossed the entire Shira Ridge. Looking over that direction, you have the Shira Cone, the first of the 3 peaks of Kilimanjaro to erupt. Well, we're climbing Kibo, which is that direction, which there is absolutely no view of right now, which has been a constant theme for this trip. We are sitting around 13,000 feet, and it's the first day that I actually experienced a little bit of altitude feeling. I just noticed that breathing became more laborious, maybe a tiny bit of lightheadedness, but nothing too serious. I guess we'll see from here on out how sleep goes, any headaches or eyes or anything like that. As I do hear, that is a good indicator of altitude sickness for setting in. We'll see.
The next morning, we woke up to something I had been anticipating since I signed on for the trip. The mountain songs.
Sema, siogope, sema. Sema, siogope, sema. Jambo. Bwana, habari gani? Nzuri sana. Wageni wakaribishwa Kilimanjaro. Hakuna matata. Uje Shirawani. Hakuna matata. Fike Moyer Kempu. Hakuna matata. Wende Lavatawa. Hakuna matata. Fike Aero Glacier. Hakuna matata. Wende Keta Kempu. Hakuna matata. Fike na Uhuru. Hakuna matata. Fike Kela Pointi. Hakuna matata. Jambo. Jambo bwana, habari gani? Nzuri sana. Wageni wakaribishwa Kilimanjaro. Hakuna matata. Hakuna matata. Hakuna matata. Hakuna matata. Hakuna matata.
Woo!
Day 4 was a hike up to 15,000 feet to Lava Tower Camp, where we would stay for 2 nights to acclimate. Those looking for a little extra adventure can climb the 300-foot tower. As a fairly experienced rock climber, this scramble was a nice break after 4 days of walking. The rest of days 4 and 5 were pretty reflective, but also pretty uneventful, as clouds and rain kept rolling in.
It has been raining here at Lava Tower Camp for hours. We're going to be here for 2 days.
I did have time, however, to catch our head chef in action.
Mama Lou is in action.
In the house.
In the house.
I want to pause here to give praise to him and the rest of the Kiliwarrior team. 3 times a day, every day, we had fresh meals, including but not limited to chicken wings and french fries, giant pico-filled avocados, and even deep dish pizza. And the porters, who every day carry up to 15 kgs of camp equipment up the increasingly steep terrain, and then set up camp every day before the clients arrive. That's a feat that makes simply climbing the mountain with a backpack feel pretty lazy in comparison. And that is why it is highly encouraged for those climbing to tip your porters a minimum of $300, and also to donate any gear that you're willing to leave behind after the climb. After an acclimatization hike on day 5, day 6 we marched up to our last camp before summit day, Aero Glacier Camp. It was here at 16,000 feet that I could finally appreciate how high we truly were. Watching the cumulus clouds form and dissipate well below us, we could also spot the nearby town of Lemosho out in the distance.
There's the Glacier Camp. There's the breach. Alright, tomorrow is the day. Today we made it to Aero Glacier Camp. It's the second to last camp before we make our summit push tomorrow up the western breach, which is right behind me there. Kind of covered in clouds a little bit. If you look behind me here, we are already above all the clouds. This is freaking insane. One of the craziest views I've ever seen. View of yesterday's camp at Lava Tower and all of this Shira Plateau down that way. Got all the things packed here for the western breach tomorrow. All the layers, all the snacks, the helmet, all the camera gear and drone, of course. Bro, ready for this shit.
4 a.m. in pitch blackness and freezing weather, our climb up the western breach officially begun. The climb starts so early because the rocks are still frozen together. If we begin too late, we risk the chance of deadly rockfall.
Un po' che al fimbo.
Iko hapa?
Subiri hapa.
Subiri,
Subiri hapa.
subiri hapa.
You wait here. Subiri hapa.
Haya.
Over 6 hours and 3,000 vertical feet of surprisingly exposed scrambling, and we crossed into the Arctic summit.
Woo!
After a week of trekking through forest, moorland, and desert, finally seeing this vast land of ash and ice felt otherworldly. As it is only at 19,000 feet that glaciers can exist on the equator.
God no way. Reach the snows of Africa. Woo!
sunburnt, we were smelly, and we all felt like absolute shit by the end. There were moments where I didn't even feel like pulling out my camera, I was so exhausted. But one last snowy summit push, and we reached Uhuru Peak. And of course, I had to stand naked on the highest summit in Africa. Standing on top of an entire continent was transformative, reflecting on what we had just accomplished, all the training and preparation put into it, but I also found myself thinking about my friends and family back home, the love and support system that got me to this moment, the stories I couldn't wait to share, especially with my mom, who in the year leading up to my climb had been recovering from a delicate brain surgery. Her resilience is a part of what inspired me to work so hard for this.